I have literally tried filming this 8 times, and first my phone stopped and kept cutting me off, and then I recorded this whole thing and I deleted the video by accident. So here we are again. Hello, bear with me through my technical difficulties. Here I am. But okay, we're gonna get through it this time. It's gonna be great. Okay, so vlog journal number one, Analyzation of Zero Hour by Ray Bradbury. I actually really enjoyed this story. It was hard for me to get invested to it, but once I did, I literally couldn't stop reading, and it left me with such a cliffhanger. And I kind of wish it was made into like a movie or even a book or a TV series. Even like would be really really cool, especially with the concepts in it. And it could really go any direction. I'll talk about that at the end when we discuss like my thoughts on it. But yeah, so this is my analyzation. I have my notes written on my computer just to keep me on track, and to help me kind of, you know, to give me a little reminder. So, right off the bat, the protagonist in the story is Mink Morris. She is a 7-year-old. The main character, excuse me, she's 7 years old and she is the main character of the story. What everything revolves around. The main antagonist in the story, I believe, would be Mrs. Morris because she did not believe Mink when she was telling her everything that was happening, and she kind of just thought that she was just a 7-year-old just telling her nonsense, which obviously in this case was not true, and probably would have helped her if she did believe her. So that's why I believe that she is the main antagonist. The 6 parts of this story are like the exposition or the introduction of this story would be the introduction of the main character Mink, her mom, and the society that they live in. The rising action or the inciting incident would be the plan of the attack, or the description of the invasion game, which you find out later is actually not a game, which moves me right into the climax, which is actually turns out to be the true invasion of aliens on Earth, or the non-Earthian creatures, whatever they are, robots, ghosts, not ghosts, but shadows, whatever they are in the story. Yeah, it would be the invasion of the aliens. The falling action in this story would be Mink's parents hiding in their house, in their attic, because it's kind of the end of the story, and it's kind of after everything happens. This is like the falling action of this short story, which actually, if you think about it, if it was a longer story or even a movie, it could be like the rising action of like them waiting to be found by Mink and these aliens. So I thought that was pretty interesting. 2 moods that I felt and experienced when I read this story were probably fear and frustration. Fear in a way of like, there's so many stories out there about like robots invading Earth, and not that that's like an internal fear of mine, but there's just so many out there where it's led to believe that we have the technology to be able to have robots take over things that humans do, which is crazy to me. And reading the story, it's kind of like, because you don't know what happens at the end, you have to kind of leave it up for your imagination, which kind of is scary a little bit because it could go so many ways. And obviously, when the Earth is being invaded by aliens, what's not scary about that? The next one that I felt was probably frustration, and I didn't really feel this throughout the story. This was like my final like thoughts, I guess, of frustration was at the end, because if Mrs. Morris would have believed Mink from the beginning, lots of things could have been done to stop this situation or the incident that happened with the aliens. And that leads me to believe like the themes of this story would be like listen to your kids when they tell you something, or like the dangers of creative imagination, even though it wasn't like she wasn't imagining any of it, even though Mrs. Morris thinks that because Mink called the alien her imaginary friend. Yeah, so those were the 2 things that I felt in this story, were fear and frustration, and a little bit of confusion because, why are aliens invading the Earth? Anyways, what do I believe happened at the end? I kind of do. It's kind of crazy because as soon as Mink opens the door and says peekaboo, that's when the story ends. And it could go, honestly, so many directions. Like, I guess it depends on what kind of theme you're looking for, which if this is just a short story and that's the ending, like, then yeah, you have your exposition, rising action, climax, and falling action. But if you're looking at it through that being not the end of the story, then that's literally all of your rising action right there. So that's kind of crazy. If you're going in like a horror movie direction or a horror story direction, a scary story direction, then you could say that Mink's parents were like they killed them. Or if you were going in like a happy direction, you could say that, oh, they just wanted to live with the humans. If you're going into like an action sort of or like an action adventure sort of direction, then you can say that they escaped right when they opened the door, and then the whole thing is them being chased by these aliens and trying to survive. So there's literally so many things that you could do for the story, because it leaves you with such like a open-ended, not question, but open-ended response for to let your imagination literally think whatever it wants, which is really, really cool and really, really frustrating at the same time, because I want to know how it ends and now I have to think of the ending myself. So yeah, that was my analyzation of this story by Ray Bradbury. I really enjoyed it, and I will see you in my vlog journal number 2.